Bella Salon and Day Spa, located at 41 West Main Street in Northeast Pennsylvania, proudly supports Chautauqua Sunrise and its volunteers. More information at bellasalonanddayspa.net. Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District with a local office in Olean. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. From the Access Channel 5 studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Channel 5. Continuing the traditions of Senior Report, we are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week, countywide, from 9 to 10 a.m. Join us by calling in live, emailing us, or checking out our social media. And now, from the Channel 5 studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Randy Burt. I'm sitting in for Doc today, which is Doc's somewhere up in the air right now. I heard doing one of my favorite hobbies. He's flying. So he'll be back in a couple weeks. Actually, next week. Next week will be our 200th show. He's going to have a great guest for you. But today, I found two of the best guys I know around. One I just met, and the other one I've known ever since he was pretty much born. He hated me. But so we're going to talk about this in just a couple minutes. So sit back. I have just a few announcements, and we'll get into the show. The Infinity Visual and Performing Arts Center, located in downtown Jamestown, will be hosting local educator and saxophonist Jacob Swanson for a free Read Clinic sponsored by Van Doren. As part of Van Doren's art education program, this workshop will help teachers and students alike better understand and use single reeds and associated products for clarinets and saxophones. The workshop will be held April 21st, which is today, and it's starting at 10 o'clock to 11 at the Infinity Center, located at 301 East 2nd Street in Jamestown. If you're lucky enough to get there in time, participants will take part in a hands-on workshop that teaches basic troubleshooting, reed selection and maintenance, and more. Free reed samples will be available, as well as trial ligatures and mouthpieces. The workshop is free and open to all area music teachers, as well as clarinet and saxophone students. For more information and to register, call Infinity at 664-0991 or stop by the Infinity Center. Tobacco cessation using motivative interviewing. Anna Maria Maserdi, Tobacco Control Specialist, Roswell Park Institute. Thursday, April 26th, 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Sign-in begins at 8:45 a.m., session promptly at 9 o'clock a.m., and it's going to be held at the Lakewood Baptist Church, 150 Erie Street, Lakewood, New York. And it's offered at a no charge to the public. Pre-registration is required. The information session will cover nicotine dependence, the importance of addressing tobacco, evidence-based research from that's a good word, pharmacopathy, principles of motivated interviewing, incorporating MI into tobacco cessations, stages of change, addressing abbreviations and resources, and support services. It's a 2-hour show. Section 2, it's OA SAS approved, and you get credit hours for credential, alcohol, and substance abuse counselor, CIA SAC, credential prevention professional, CPP, credential prevention specialist, CPS. This course is recognized and approved by the Pennsylvania Certification Board through Rapacity. Pardon me. Laugh in the Dark. Lakeshore Arts is looking for performers, actors, singers, interpreters to take part in an adult comedy extravaganza entitled Laugh in the Dark that will be performed late spring of this year. Comedy scenes, music, poetry, etc. will be performed in the show, and we're looking for males and females from age 18 with no top-end age limit. Again, this will be adult material. I think Naughty would describe it, nothing filthy or too outlandish, but definitely mature material. If you're interested, please email me at rickmascaro@gmail.com. That's Rick Mascaro. Or respond here if you prefer. Rehearsals will be very flexible as the show is made up of numerous smaller presentations that will make rehearsal much easier. I'm hoping that if you have wanted to say something, try something like this, but have been hesitant, that you will join us. This will be an excellent opportunity to get your feet wet if you're not performing in public before. We will begin the journey not too distant future. I hope we'll hear from you. That Rick guy, he has been on the show several times. That guy has to be the funniest guy I've ever met. We got a free May parenting classes offered. Build a strong foundation for your children. Your children's first years are so important. Learn how to make the most of them with active parenting. First 5 years of this program, you will learn the best way to nurture your child from birth to pre-K with it just right, a combination of freedom and non-violent discipline. Give your kids a strong start. Here's what you'll learn. What a baby's cry means. Greg? Ages and stages of development. Building a strong bond. Your child's growing brain. Using mindfulness to keep you cool. Effective discipline young children can understand choices and consequences. 6 ways to prepare your child for school success and much more. 4 2-hour session parenting group. May 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd from noon till 2 p.m. at the Mental Health Association, 31 Water Street, door 14, suite 7, the Gateway Center in Jamestown. This project is offered free of charge through a partnership between Chautauqua Alcoholism and Substance Abuse, CASAC, and Mental Health Association. And you can get a hold of them at CASA, CASACWEB.org. Shredded event, May 5th, 10 o'clock till 12 o'clock at the Westfield Hospital. $10 per container. Benefits, Westfield Memorial Hospital Auxiliary. It's going to be a chicken barbecue and an annual auction. Westfield Mayville Rotary. Saturday, May 19th, 2018, Eastern Hall at Elm Street. Chevetta's Chicken Barbecue and Chinese Auction from 5:30 to 6:30. Raffle for a hotel and dinner package. Tickets are $12. Contact Tracy Burnett at 326-3800 or any Rotarian. So that's our announcements today. We're going to go to a PSA and then we're going to start our show.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
And we're back now. Thank you. My show today, I've brought in two fine folks. One I just met, and one is my cousin's son that is well known to Channel 5 now with his new position as head of the Veteran Services. But today we have a new, we're going to be talking about something that most of you have heard. It's called the Laurel Run. It'll be held this summer. And before we talk about the Laurel Run, I'm going to introduce my guest. My first guest is Wayne Hoteling. Welcome, Wayne.
Thank you, Randy. It's nice to be here.
Now, this is your first time here, so tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, and just a little family history. And
Okay, I'm a local individual who was brought up in Laurel and Faulkner, New York. Graduated from Faulkner High School. Went into the service, into the Army Reserves for 8 years, 6 months active duty, and then worked in industry at Blackstone, and left the area after that to go to Asbury College in, Wilmore, Kentucky. It's been a few years, but then that's where I met my wife, and we dated and eventually got married, and came back here in 1960 after graduating from Faulkner in 1956. And as a result of our marriage, our first baby we lost due to prolapse cord, and then our second child was Laurel. And of course, Laurel again was a young lady who was born with Down syndrome. And we really didn't have any idea about any of this that was taking place. And when Elaine was in the hospital, we had noticed, especially Elaine being there all the time, that the doctors and the nurses would huddle sometimes and then look her way. But we were never informed of anything in relationship to her situation at all while we were in the hospital. But we noticed things. And I did not want to worry her. She didn't want to worry me. So what we did, we kind of on our own did our research, and we knew what was going on. And after 2 or 3 weeks, we knew something was not right. And we saw the doctor, and Laura was taken in and tested. And with the chromosome abnormality, we found out that she had Down syndrome. And with this abnormality, we have now a situation where, what do we do? And we asked our doctor. And the doctor informed us that probably the best thing to do was to put her in an institution. So what we determined we were going to do was to get a new doctor. And 24 hours later, we had a new doctor. And from then on, we started to work with Laurel and to help her to develop. And she was really very, most babies are, very active and so forth, but she was very quiet, and her muscle tone was lacking. And it was a situation that was hard to deal with as parents. But we found out help later on, and with our doctor, our new doctor, he got us going right away in giving her exercises and so forth. But Laurel began to develop, but we never felt as though she would ever talk or walk, and it was an issue for us, to deal with. But as time went on, we had 3 other children, and of course that's an issue too, because the possibility of Down syndrome multiplies as each child comes along. But all 3 were perfectly fine. She has a brother, Rick, 2 sisters, Diane and Donna. And the nice thing about that is that as they came along, Laurel grew also, and she would develop, and as Rick grew, she did. In fact, Rick and Laurel looked like twins because they were so close together. Rick was born 2 years later. Well then, as he grew, he passed her. But about that time, here comes Diane. And Diane came along about 2 years later, after Rick, and Laurel grew. And she began to walk. It was, I think, probably 2.5, 3 years before she ever took her first step. But, then Diane passed her, and then here comes Donna 3 years later. And it was something that was a family situation. And of course, Elaine spent the time at home with her. We determined that until the last child was in school, she would not be going back to work. She was going to be there with the children. So she's the one that had the burden more so than anybody else. But also along the line, something very important, and that was we found the resource center and the services that they provide. And that helped us immensely in the development with Laurel. Laurel spent the first 2 years after she was 5. She went to kindergarten in Silver Creek for 2 years. There were 2 different teachers, so she had the 2 different teachers. Then she went to Bosse's, and there she completed her education at age 21 and went on to the Resource Center, worked there for 33 years, and retired just a year, well, really about 5-6 months before she died this past November, the 13th. And before I go any farther, I'd just like people to know that this coming May 6th, which is a Sunday, we are having a celebration of Laurel's life at the Fireman's Clubhouse on Jackson Avenue in Silver Creek. And this is open to any and all who knew Laurel, and anyone that would just like to come down. I mean, that's fine.
So
But
what's the date again?
the date is the 6th of May. It's a Sunday, and we're going to have hours from 2 until 6. You don't have to come and stay. We just like people to share memories and to share stories about Laurel. There are so many, and I'll relate to those here later on, and I'm sure Greg can too. But all I can say is Elaine and I are just very, very happy that we had Laurel. And we've had a lot of people tell us, oh, you've done such a good job, with the development of Laurel. But actually, I think Laurel did a great job with Mom and Dad, because she taught us more about life than any other person that we've ever, come into contact with. And there's another story there that I can relate to later on as to how Laurel Run got started. But that, Randy, to answer your question, is basically what's happened in our lives and what's taken place. I can tell you this. Laurel was 54, almost 55, because she would have been 55 on the 7th of February this year. But all I can say is we were like the Three Musketeers for that period of time, and there's a hole, there's there's something that's missing, and it always will be. But her whole life was positive, and you look back and what she did and what she accomplished and how happy, how courageous she was facing the medical issues that she had. She had, many medical issues also. But that's sort of the...
I read, I have a sister that's went to the Resource Center for many years, and that place is just awesome.
We're very, very thankful for, the services that they provided and what they were able to do, for Laurel and for all people, here in Chautauqua County.
I've seen
And
so many people, and it's like, they're happy. Most are happy. They have their bad days, but, I mean, I've seen them with their, I know there was an article here about when she would get her paycheck for working. They are so excited when they get that paycheck, because I'd be there when they come home from work, and, and they've got their paycheck for the week, and it's just...
Well, with Laurel, Randy, in reference to that, one of the things that she knew that her brother and her sisters, they went to work. They came home with a paycheck. This to her was very meaningful. And once she started, and she started getting this paycheck, of course the kids grew up. They left. Rick is in Mississippi. Diana's in North Carolina. Donna's in Connecticut, with their families. And but when they were home, and she came home with her paycheck there, or when they would come to visit, she'd say, "See, I got a paycheck just like you." And she was the first one. And also, she made sure, she says, "And you remember, I'm the oldest." She always told them that.
Well, it sounds like the younger siblings, they helped a lot.
They did.
I mean, got her active, and which is really nice, because sometimes kids are just not that way.
Well, that leads into something else now. In our neighborhood, up there in Silver Creek, there must have been, in the area, probably 15, 18 kids that, played together, about the same age. Many of those same individuals are now adults that are involved in some sort of work that deals with helping people with disabilities. And many of them will tell you that the reason for that is because of their association with Laurel when she was younger.
Nice.
And as a result of that, I mean, it just shows, what an effect a person can have. And I think back, what if we had put Laurel in an institution, and Laurel hadn't, met, and in the manner and the way in which she affected their lives,
It's like...
how would that have been, different for them also? So yeah, I think it goes to show you that we need to look at people and look at them based upon their abilities.
Yeah, the neighbors sound really nice, because I know a lot of people that would just be probably calling people names and
yes,
stuff like that.
that's something that always happens.
So you had some great neighbors there. So
Yes, we did.
Greg,
Absolutely.
Yes.
where do you come in here?
Well, here's where I come in. As I was getting ready to retire from the service, well, I have to go back a little bit first. My grandfather, Uncle Wayne's brother, passed away when I was young. I remember him a little bit, but not real well. So as you grow up, you don't think about that. And then after spending 20 years in the service, I started thinking about my grandpa all the time, and wishing I had more opportunity to get to know him and know about him and know what he was like as an adult, when you can really understand. So as I was approaching retirement, and I knew we were going to move back to the area, I said, I can get reacquainted with his baby brother. And I bet you I will, and of course I knew Uncle Wayne's story and I knew Laurel's story, but when I moved back to the area, actually it was a couple years before I moved back to the area, I got reacquainted with Uncle Wayne, and one of the first things that I did was the Laurel Run. Now at that time I wasn't in the best of shape, so I did the 5K walk. But I remember just being so overwhelmingly impressed and just feeling so good about what was going on and how everyone interacted. And don't get me wrong, I think that when someone or people have a disability, you recognize that. But what I liked about the Laurel Run is the people that were handing out water and making the medals and working the event. It was a combination of everyone that was doing it, and there was no segregation between the people with disabilities and the athletes participating and the people without disabilities that were working the event. And I knew that that's something that I really wanted to be a part of. And I actually, when I first retired, worked briefly at the Resource Center, which was a wonderful place to work, and I was inspired to do so in part by Laurel and the Laurel Run. And then when the Veteran Service Agency position opened and a chance to advocate for veterans, it broke my heart to leave the Resource Center, but that was the calling that I went to. But I stayed affiliated with the Laurel Run, determined to get in shape, and actually ran it the next 2 years. And the most important thing was the relationship I built with my grandpa's baby brother. And I got to meet his sister. Well, I've met her before, but get reacquainted with my great aunt Jean as well. And that's been really a blessing. Now, Laurel is my kind of person because she is a big sports fan. And the first thing I noticed when I would come visit Uncle Wayne in Silver Creek was I mean, it doesn't matter if it's football or NASCAR or basketball. Her room was just filled with football cards and pictures.
I bet she was a Bills fan.
Yes, yep. And a big, is it Phil Hansen? Was she a big Phil Hansen fan? Because he's from
North
Dakota, just like her mom. So that was really amazing for me, being a big sports fan, just to have that common bond with her and be able to talk to Laura about that. So the Laurel Run, of course, being an athletic event, was also right up her alley.
Now, how long have you done it? 2 years?
No, 3 years
3
now.
years.
3 years. I forgot about the 5K walk. I don't, you know. But I ran it the last 2 years.
What have you done? I know, now, I always thought the Laurel Run was just something from Jamestown to Dunkirk, but you have a second day, too.
Well, I'm going to let the expert talk
Okay.
about that. So the event that's in Silver Creek is they have a 5K walk, they have an 8K run, they have a kids run, they have Laurel's Lap, which is for all of the participants with disabilities. They get an opportunity to participate as well. And that's actually more fun and more inspirational than all the other races together. But the 8K run is the kind of the longer event for that day. Not. I know they have a couple of things where they bridge the North and South County, but I've done the 8K run with your cousin Scott the last couple of years, and we really enjoy doing that. So that's the event I've done the last 2 years.
So, yeah, it's I'm losing my voice. But, no, I heard you were in it, and it was like, I've read articles and stuff, but I never really knew much about it. And but I did, when I was looking at the websites, I found one of Lori's roommates there, Jerry. I don't know his last name right off.
Jerry Reed?
It could be. He's on the page with her. And, so I got to know a lot about, a lot of these folks, too, with my ma working. She would work at the bowling. They had bowling for on Friday nights, but I think the government sort of put an end to that with funding, because they used to go out every Friday. And
Randy, mentioning that's one of the things that's happened at the Resource Center, and that is that cutbacks have come from the state and from the national government. So it's making it even that much more difficult for us. But with the legislators that we have here, and you've shown them at the beginning here, one of them, but they have been very supportive of us, and we are very thankful for what they have done and what they have provided for us here, our local representatives. And one other thing I'd like to comment on here, we also have, along with the run itself, and the purpose of that is to include the young adults, the kids that are in basically junior high school, but high school itself, and that's the relay that takes place on Friday,
Okay.
the day before. And what happens is we get runners and adults from the school too, and many times people just want to run along from the schools. And we've had participation from as many as 12 high schools, throughout the
Nice.
area. And then over the years, there are some that have been there, I'm sure, 3, 4, 5 years, and they run. And what they do, they carry the Laurel Run flag from Jamestown to Dunkirk, and it shows the continuity between the resource center throughout Chautauqua County, as such. And it also gives the young people a chance to meet Laurel and to become more aware of about what it's like to have a disability and to have to try and make your way in the world. And I think possibly it's affected the lives of many. I know it has. One of the things I'd like to mention, there was after Laurel's passing away in November, Elaine and I got a card from the Maple Grove School and from the Silver Creek Central School, and it said, to Mr. Hotelling, Coach Hotelling, I used to coach at Silver Creek, but from your cross country teams that support you, and all of them had signed those. I mean, that means so much to Elaine
Oh my gosh, yes.
and myself, So I mean, it just shows you the effect of one individual and what has taken place. If you could get a close-up of this shows Laurel.
If you could hold it up for this camera right here.
If you could just see that, I mean,
I
that's
like
Laurel in Laurel's lap, and look at the smile on her face. Look at the joy that
Is
she
this usually
shows.
done at the school?
And this is now, from now on, since Laurel has passed away, this is going to be known as Laurel's Legacy Lap. It's going to be a legacy to her.
She
Thank
got to
you.
ride bicycle and just for a second here, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on WRFA here on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, we're talking about the Laurel Run. We just showed a picture of Laurel hoteling on a bicycle. She was riding the Laurel Lap. And,
Tricycle.
Tricycle,
She
I'm
couldn't ride a
sorry.
bike.
Yeah, tricycle, but doing the lap there. And so I'm going to have to ask you, the start of the Laurel Run, how did you come up with the idea?
I didn't come up with an idea. Excuse me. My wife is from North Dakota, and when we would travel with the kids when they were younger, rather than going down through Cleveland, Chicago, and so forth, up through Minneapolis to get to North Dakota, we would go up through Canada and go across the Canadian Route 17. And this one time when we were going up, happened to be 1980, and there was a young man by the name of Terry Fox. Terry Fox had lost a leg all the way up to the hip to cancer. He had a prosthesis. And he was very depressed. And of course his coach, by the way, he was an overachiever in school, and like you mentioned, Greg, just all involved in all types of sports. And not very big, but he was a tremendous point guard in basketball and so forth, and other sports also. But what he did was that he was just down and out, and his coach talked to him and showed him what this runner by the name of Hansen, he was in a wheelchair, and he's been all over the world and competed and so forth, and what he did with his life. And Terry thought, well, maybe I can do something. So what he did, he had cancer. That's what caused his leg, to be lost. And he dipped his prosthetic foot, into the Atlantic. And what he wanted to do was to run across Canada. And when we were going up through Canada, we happened to meet him in the upper part of Ontario there. And he was running, and it was almost at dusk, not quite. But I saw him, and he was going across the road there, and we were coming up, we were going to turn on, but we turned on before he got to us. But I saw him, and I saw this man running with this gait, you know, what it was. And then we went by the support vehicle, and in the support vehicle was his brother, you know, they was driving along, and they had on there what was it they called it? Anyhow, it was the Marathon of Hope or something of this nature. But anyway, it was on the vehicle, and we went by. We saw it. We had to turn around a couple miles later. Went back, stopped him, asked him what he was doing. He was running across cancer, trying to raise $1 for every Canadian. You know, and he got as far as Wawa, which is up across the top of Lake Superior. And he developed cancer in the lungs once again, and I believe it was within about 10 months, a year, that he passed away. But he had gone, I believe, it was almost 2/3 of the way across Canada. Now, I couldn't run across Canada, or the United States even, you know, but I thought, you know, I'd like to do something to promote awareness for people like Laurel. And that was in 1980. So after I retired in 1995, that's when I thought maybe I would you know, do what came to become Laurel Run. And that's how it developed. But it was just one other person that you happened to see, and that's how Laurel Run originated.
Excellent. And you've been doing it since 1997? Yep. Every year?
Every year.
Weather permitting, or?
Oh, the weather, regardless of the weather. I can tell you one thing, Laurel Run is usually hot, humid, and hard. It's just hard and humid, and I mean, it's just it's a challenging course. But you know, and here's another thing, a lot of people, runners and so forth, you know, when we were first getting started, it didn't seem to take off. They said, well, that's a hard course. I want to have a personal best. You know, I can't get a personal best running a course like that. And then one of our committee members came up with this statement. They said, you know, what you're doing for 30 minutes, an hour and a half. And the people you're doing it for face these challenges 24 hours every day of their life. So that's one of the things that we started to promote, and that increased you know, the numbers that came to support us in Laurel Run. And we hope they'll do the same thing this year.
Now, you've done some other parts of the run. I think I heard kayaking.
Well, the first 4 years, the first year was across the state. The second year, we went around Chautauqua Lake. The third year, it was there were 4 relays throughout New York State. NYSARC, the state organization for people with disabilities, made it their feature event for their 50th anniversary. And we had 2 relays from New York City, 2 from the northern part of the state, and 4 that left from western New York. And 4 weeks later, we all met in Albany for a huge celebration, you know, that took place. And that was the third one. The fourth one, we decided to do something similar. We came from 4 different areas, north, south, east, and west of Chautauqua County, and we used all means of transportation: kayaks, horses, running, walking, motorized scooters, you name it. There were all types of things that were used. And we met in Casadega. And then we got tired of saying, we can't do this every year, let's just start something. And that's where Laurel Run, and Laurel's Lap didn't come in until about, I think it was about the 5th, 6th, 7th year, somewhere in there. And it was one of the people in the committee that came up with that idea. And we have had so many different people that have just aided and helped us so much. And the kids from the schools around are just, we can't thank them enough.
That's great. I mean, usually the kids at schools would probably be the ones that would like be picking on people, but it's just interesting. Who organizes this? Do you do all of it? Or?
No. This is organized. I would say that the key man here is Steve Watterson.
Steve?
Yeah, at the Resource Center. But we have so many people at the Resource Center and so many volunteers that help us out every year. So I just believe that it's a voluntary thing that people have become, you know, supportive of, and we're just very, very pleased. By the way, this year the date for Laurel Run, the 20th will be the relay that takes place from Jamestown to Dunkirk. The 21st will be Laurel's. It's going to be the Laurel Memorial Run this year. It'll be changed since she has passed away.
Okay.
And then we will have the kids' runs. There are 2 different kids' runs, and then we will have Laurel's Legacy Lap.
And
And that's on Saturday. That's on
Do
Saturday.
they have a lot of, what's that? May? No, it's in July, correct?
July.
July.
It's in July.
Now, on the Legacy Lap, is there a lot of people like in wheelchairs? Is it a lot of the
There
people?
there are people in wheelchairs. One of the groups up in the North County, they have People Incorporated, and they have a group. I think they had 60 people last year,
Jeez.
and they all in their orange shirts, you know. But these are all people with disabilities. Our people from the Resource Center also running this. But it's not anybody, you know. It's anybody can do it.
Okay.
And I mean anybody with a disability. It could be a veteran. It could be somebody who's had an accident or something. But come and just take part in it, and just, you know. And we, one little girl who took part in it had lost, had her feet amputated. Okay, and she had just had this done, and her mother wanted to bring her down and, you know, set her quite a ways back. We had to move her up, but she just made a few steps, but she got to the finish line. Well, there wasn't a dry eye there.
Oh, really?
But listen, the next year she came and she had 2 prosthetic feet, and she had little sandals with the toenails painted, and she walked Laurel's Lap all
Really?
the way around that next year. So I mean, it's just a very, I don't know, to me, very uplifting, and it shows what you can do, and hopefully it, you know, will allow other people also with these type of disabilities say, hey, if they can do it, I can do it.
Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to call in and talk about the Laurel Run, our numbers should be up on the screen there. It's 753-5225. Any questions on the Laurel Run? Now, Wayne, we do have some pictures of the run.
Oh,
Let's start bringing up the pictures. I'll let Wayne and talk about them.
okay, let's see. This is the one that, let's see, what year is that?
Brochure, it says Friday, July 20th.
Yeah, but what's this? This is
It says 11.
the 11th, that was the 11th, and it just shows you the kids' runs that you have there. If you look down in the side there, there's Laurel with the blue shirt and the red shorts on there. And then in the middle there, these other people that are running, in the high five if you love running and so forth. These are also people from the Resource Center that will stand along the side of the road when the relay is being run. You know,
Sure,
they'll
that-
take the vans and bring them up ahead of when the runners come through, and then to cheer them on.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's Laurel on her bike, on her trike, going through. But notice how happy she is. She's known for her smile and for her hugs, and I think that's something maybe all of us need to do more of. A little more smiling and show our happy side.
I just wanted to add an experience from running the race, because I've done it the last 3 years, and this is stuff that maybe even Uncle Wayne doesn't know, but it's truly my favorite run of the year, and you're inspired from the time you get there until the time you end. So I remember the very first time I went, the national anthem was sung by a volunteer with disabilities. And I was, after he sang the national anthem, I was trying to talk to my uncle, and I could not get Scott, my Uncle Scott, I could not get the words out because I was
In tears.
I was moved
Yeah.
by that rendition of the national anthem. And the course is challenging. It's basically all hills with a couple of moments of relief followed by another hill. And it's usually hot, and it's very challenging. But one of the things that also inspired me was at the end, you know, they keep track of the athletes and the ones who finish high and stuff. There's a lot of times, you know, small cash prizes, but I'm not kidding. Probably 75% of the people donate it back to
Oh, yeah.
to the cause. And I was standing next to a gentleman. I wish I could remember his name, and he actually came in the money that time. And the first thing he did when they announced his name is he donated it back. And he said, I trained hard so that I would do well enough so that I could donate the money. Like he was,
nice.
what inspired him to, and I don't think he knew that I knew Mount Wayne, but what inspired him to train hard to actually,
Be
you
able
know,
to give the money back.
was so that he could be one of the guys who said, you know, donate it back to the cause. And it's, I mean, I'm basically choked up the entire time I'm there, and it's a great experience. Silver Creek does a wonderful job hosting it.
Yes, yes,
They
they
do
do.
a really nice job.
The community is truly, you know, supportive and behind it. The volunteer firemen, the fire police, the village government, you know, in taking care of the streets, the Department of Public Works. There's just, there are hundreds, literally, possibly, probably thousands of people that volunteer or have volunteered, you know, to do the work. And John, who sings the national anthem, I'll tell you, he sings it a cappella.
Really?
He does a great, and he enjoys it. He really, and he puts his heart and soul into it. And yeah, it's something that's.
Look at the determination in that little boy's face.
Yeah, no, look at them.
Jesus.
They're going.
They're going, man. For the run now, if people want to get involved as a volunteer, donate money, be part of it,
Call the Resource Center.
talk to Steve.
Call, 661. Steve's going to love this. Believe me, and I mean it, he will. 661-4735.
4735.
Or if they want to call us at our home phone, it's 934-3952. And I've got a cell phone, it's 785-3023. Of course,
Excellent.
716.
Yeah. So they can help, they can run, they can donate.
They can
What
donate,
else
they
is
can
there?
cheer, just
Cheer,
to be there and
cheering.
cheer on.
I know what the cheering is. I do a bicycle ride, and it's just, it gives you that to just keep going when you're,
Yeah, it's true.
and
Another observation from running the race, and it's going to be bittersweet this year without Laurel there, because Laurel was like, because obviously the run's named after her, but she was like a celebrity. So when she made an appearance, everyone knew where she was at. You know, you knew it was you were thinking, you know, it was like being somewhere at the red carpet rolled out, and yeah, I mean everyone knew who Laurel was. The smile, and she would, you know, be talking to people, and it really was something to see. And I was like, I'm related to her, so I you know, I felt like I had some sort of
really?
you know, because
Connection.
Celebrity,
some connection there, right? Because I
yes.
could say, hey, yep, and everyone knows who Laurel is, and everyone has heard of the Laurel Run, even people who aren't involved
Yep.
with that. You know, if it comes up in conversation, someone will say, oh, I've heard of that. What is that? And
as I said before, about a year ago, I thought it was just Jamestown to Dunkirk, and okay.
well, it's a great event, and you really want to see Silver Creek, some parts of it you haven't seen before. As we're running along, I'm like, wow, what a beautiful neighborhood this. You run through some different parts, and they have some little hidden nooks and crannies that you have to run uphill to get to.
Yep.
And
They got some hills there.
There's a few
At least
hills.
three I can think of.
About
There's some
5
of the
miles
people
worth.
right there.
That's the beginning of Laurel's Lap there, as you can see.
Excellent. Now, do most the resource centers have people, bring lots of people out?
Yes,
mean,
yes,
they-
yes. They bring out a lot of the residents, and they bus them up from Jamestown,
Excellent.
you know.
I don't want them
But
back.
the problem
being
is, it
involved.
starts so early, you know, to try and get
Oh, yeah.
you know, people up sometimes, it's difficult. You've got, and the staff at the resource center is just, I think, many times overwhelmed, you know, with what they have to do, but they do it.
They do it,
And
yeah.
it's difficult. You know, I'd like to share a little bit about Laurel's health. The last couple of years, she was in and out of the hospital. Starting in November of 2016, she went into the hospital, and she was in for 123 days. Half of that at Buffalo General, and the other half at the Select Hospital in Erie. And she had had she had had 3 different surgeries, and as a result of that, she ended up in a specialty hospital there in Erie so that they could get the trach back out. About, let's see, about 17 years before that, there was another time where she was in the hospital for 100 days.
Oh,
And she went from 123 pounds down to 47 when we brought her home. And it took 2 years of recovery. But she handled it. I mean, she's so courageous as a young lady, and she just was able to, you know, to come back. But it wore on her, and it was, she had always had a heart murmur. She had had open heart surgery when she was 10, and she had had some other, you know, difficulties that you have, you know, that Down syndrome people are sometimes born with. But she handled them in such a mature manner and way, and
that's so nice.
it was just, yes. There's no way that Elaine and I would wish her back when, you know, in her situation. But she had wonderful and great care from the medical facilities and from the nurses and the doctors and the aides and everyone. We just owe those people so much, and we're
that's
so
great.
thankful for the care that she got.
We do have a phone call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. This is Linda Spalding, and a special good morning to your guests, Wayne and Greg. You're telling very inspiring stories, and it's really very beautiful.
Well, thank you, Linda. Yes, it's a sad situation, but they made good of it, and now it's helping. It's just been helping other people over the years, so
Yes.
it's just amazing.
Hi, Linda. It's Greg. Good to talk to you
Oh,
again.
good to talk to you, Greg. I think I better put my... Am I producing an echo?
Not yet.
That sounds good.
I've got the volume down. Maybe I better walk in the other room. I won't be able to look at you, but you won't hear the echo. It's great to talk to you, and thank you for being on the phone.
Well, thank you for your comments, Linda. It's nice to hear and nice to know about your support.
Yes, well, you always have my support for this sort of thing, and also for the veterans, and thank you for all that you do. I'm just calling to say that we do have some jobs coming up. Our funding is finally being released for the end of our contract year, so I do have some positions with our senior employment program that are open, and also we work with others who may be interested in other things, so they should contact me at the Office for the Aging. Also,
Here's the
we
phone
have
number.
our computer training going on in the Westfield Patterson Library and also at the Ohio Library in Brockton.
Well, thank you, Linda.
I'm sorry about the echo.
Oh, we're not getting it today. I've heard it before, but today it's not echoing.
I hear it on the phone here, but it's not too pronounced. And we have other services with the Office for the Aging, and our telephone number is 753-4471.
And just remember, if you're at the Office of the Agent and you're in Jamestown, walk next door and say hi to Greg.
Oh,
Greg will fix you up. He'll have you running this year in the lawn.
I see Greg when I go there.
I do. I see Linda regularly.
So, well, thank you again for this presentation.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay. Have a great day and a great weekend.
You too. I forgot something here real quickly. One of our volunteers here is having a birthday Monday, so hey, Emerald, happy birthday. We're not going to say your age. Girls don't like their age, but I've heard there's going to be some beep beeping. But I think where you live, I don't know if they have cars or if you drive buggies around, but happy birthday. We got a cake for you after the show, so don't run away.
Okay.
So, yep, well, we get the volunteers. Volunteer is a big thing, though, on this run.
Yes.
And you're saying you have so many volunteers to get this to go.
It wouldn't function without it.
How many people do you think you have involved just in the running part?
Let's see. We've had when we started out, I think we had less than 100, and we've had as many in the run as over 300.
That's a lot
But
of
we've
people.
got walkers also, and then of course the kids runs, and then Laurel's Lap has really grown. That's been phenomenal, and the way in which it has just.
You have like volunteers, like photographers.
We have a photographer that is taking pictures all the time. The Resource Center, Jane Young, she takes pictures of the event
familiar.
and everything that's happening, right?
Yeah, because I know, like, when we do the Ride for
And
Radford,
another thing too,
photographers everywhere.
we have great sponsors, and the one other event that we have about anywhere from about a week to 10 days beforehand. The Dunkirk Observer does a special edition, and they'll take the whole front page and have in the back page and have it all with Laurel Run events. And so we'd like to thank them.
Okay, we got like 2 minutes now to the dates again, or
the dates are July 20th and 21st for the relay and the event itself, and this is on. This is on July, or in July, excuse me. And then another date that I hope that people will take advantage of, especially if they knew Laurel, is the celebration of her life that's going to take place in Silver Creek. And it's on Jackson Street. It's off of Route 5. You won't be able to miss it. We'll have some signs up. And that is going to be from 2 until 6 on the 6th of May, which is a Sunday. So maybe people would be, maybe people will, be able to get up and
really?
take some time to do so.
And for signing up now, you just sign up?
Yeah, you can sign up. You can go online. You will find it there. I believe that there's a website.
I got questions at Steve Watterson at resourcecenter.org.
Right.
And I hope you get a big crowd this year. I hope everybody's watching. You'll come out and help. If you can't help, just come out and donate. Come out and watch. Cheer them on.
And this year, it'll be a little different. Laura will be watching.
Yes.
Watching us also from up above.
Well, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for all you've done for Laurel. I mean, it's just dedicating your life is so great.
Well, there are a lot of people that are doing the same thing in the same position that Elaine and I are in, and we've been friends with them, and there have been friends of Laurel's that have passed on and gone before her, and I'm sure that they're going to be up there cheering everybody on too.
Well, thank you. We ran out of time, and I hope you can come back again and talk.
Be glad
Maybe
to.
next time with Doc, and he can get it in, get
Be
some
glad
more
to.
details. Thank you. I want to thank everybody. Justin, Emerald on camera, Jeff at the controls, Chris out there hiding, and I definitely want to thank my guest, Greg. And Doc should be back next week. Show number 200.
Wow.
Don't miss it. Thank you.